Hello, my name is Abigail Sexton, and I research Dr. Betty Hart for my Behaviorist project. Dr. Betty Hart was born July 15th, 1927, and then died September 28th, 2012. Her educational journey was from University of California, Berkeley, and then Washington University, and then Kansas University, where she received her doctorate, as well as she became a professor and continued her research through there. Her research partner was Todd Risley, and she focused on early language development. Even more so, she focused on the language development of different populations and how different situations impact the development of language. So that means she was looking at how higher socioeconomic groups and lower socioeconomic groups, how those changes impacted the language skills of preschoolers and younger age children and toddlers, as well as she looked at different kids that had different disorders, such as Down syndrome, and how their language skills were impacted by their disorders that they have. So the first research the article that I looked at was looking at the correlation between overcrowding and language development. So she found with Todd Risley that when homes are crowded, children receive less quality social interaction with their parents. So they are receiving less high quality social interaction, talking conversations with their parents. The parents are talking less to the children, and then they respond less to their child's or children's requests, and then they punish their children when they do talk. So be quiet, don't talk, um, you're too loud, all of those things. So they're not encouraging their children to talk and to use different language skills. She did note that more information would needed to be done and understood, and that a longitudinal study would be beneficial in this um, with the question of how overcrowding and language skills go hand in hand together. So it was discussed why parents may be less interested in their children's language development. One possibility was that they are overworked and tired, and they're just simply want to withdraw from um, social interactions. So they feel like once they get home, they can just be quiet and relax. Unfortunately, um, there's other people in their homes, such as children, and those children need to have that interaction in order to progress their skills. The next article I looked at was looking at the progression of language skills, included a little image of different developmental milestones. So this was a longitudinal study that dealt with language skills of children ages 1 through 4. So she was understanding at Turner Preschool, which is a preschool for impoverished children near University of Kansas, and she was comparing it to another preschool nearby that professors would send their children to. And they noted that in the different preschools, there were differences in the amount of the children talk, um, and the amount of how much they are talking, the natural contingencies in saying the words, such as children that are from higher socioeconomic groups, they're probably praised more on, oh, you said "ba," so here, have a banana. Whereas children from lower groups, they might not have received that natural praise. And also the social aspects. They might not be talking to each other as much. So the research then noted or decided that they would need to visit the homes of the children from the Turner Preschool and see before the age of 4, when they would be going to preschool, how the children are being developed, how their language skills are being developed at home. Um, because she noted that although, yes, you could do a lot of things at the age of 4, it would be much easier to learn certain things before the age of 4 so you're not having to, play catch up. The next article I looked at Down syndrome language development. Um, so this was a longitudinal study that compared the language development of children with Down syndrome to children who do not have Down syndrome. And they noted certain reasons of why they believe children with Down syndrome might have issues with their language development. They might have cognitive deficits, have motor control issues of their mouth, have frequent ear infections, which then would cause hearing loss, and the parent perceptions of a child's abilities. So the parents might not believe that their child could do X, Y, and Z. So then therefore they're not going to push the child to do X, Y, and Z. They would just say, oh, they can't do that, so here, we'll just do it for them. She did note in the study um, that the children that have Down syndrome, typically have they do learn the certain language skills, but they might just learn it at a slower pace. So eventually they will have the language skills, but instead of, talking at age, 12 months, it might be a lot longer than that. The next article I looked at is what toddlers talk about. Because I know from being around toddlers, I sometimes want to just, what are they talking about? What are they thinking about? So this was a longitudinal study that discussed what toddlers talk about during the ages of 13 to 36 months. They were observed in homes by researchers on a monthly basis. Like most of her other studies, the researchers would just go in the homes. They would not interact with the children, but they would just take notes. And they would also ask the parents what certain things that they might be saying, because I know from working with toddlers, sometimes people who are close to them, they know what they're saying, but if a stranger walks by, they would think that they're not, they were talking nonsense. And the results that they found were that what toddlers talk about changes throughout time, but they did encourage parents to talk with their children as that improves the rate of social development. So, like in all of their studies that we have found, talking to children greatly improves their language skills development. Even, talking to a 6-month-old baby, even though it's not talking back to you, it's hearing what you're saying and it's understanding, certain things. One of her best well-known research projects that she did with Todd Risley was looking at the relationship with socioeconomic groups and language development. So this was a 10-year longitudinal study that dealt with school outcomes, language development, and socioeconomic factors. I know from being a former teacher, I can see that kids are from different socioeconomic groups. Um, they do fare differently in school. So it was noted that kids from lower socioeconomic groups, they are exposed to less complex vocabulary and they're discouraged from talking from their families. And those that came from lower socioeconomic groups typically have fewer language experiences and as a result score lower in school. So if she was still alive, I would ask her, number one, what type of educational programs would you support children and toddlers in language development? Number two, what do you recommend parents who are from a lower socioeconomic group and live in a crowded house to help their child's language development? Number three, would you recommend ABA for children who are behind developmentally in language? Four, do you believe classes should be grouped based on their levels, or do you believe in a mixed abilities classroom? And five, if you were still alive in 2021, do you believe that we have made gains in the language development field, or do you think more work is to be done? And then I've included where I received those pictures that I used in here. So thank you.